Again, thank you for your indulgence. Could we start the meeting? Please rise for salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Good evening, all. Welcome to the Township of Albridge Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting for July 27, 2022. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Albridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting. By prominently posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, the date, the agenda, and the location of this meeting. Also by mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune, filing a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk, and posting the agenda on the Township's website. Ms. C., could we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Sullivan.
Here.
Mr. Connor.
Here.
Mr. Stoner.
Here.
Ms. Chevalier.
Here.
Mr. Scogno.
Here.
Ms. Andrews is absent. Ms. Testaverde.
Here.
Mr. Psychowski.
Here.
Mr. Dasty.
Here.
Ms. Sawant. Mr. McCarthy.
Here.
And myself, Ms. C. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have three applications this evening. They're going to be taken a little out of order. We're going to start with 35-2022Z. That's John D. Hart. That's going to be the first one. Then we'll follow with Town Center, and finally Aldercrest Development. So we will begin with that. It is 35-2022Z, John D. Hart. This is at Block 1, Lot 15, 15 Bayshore Avenue for single-family home requiring a C variance. Robert McGowan, representing the applicant. Sir?
Good evening. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Robert McGowan. I am representing the applicant. Is that on?
Press the... There you go.
Green light on. There we go. It's a single-family home in the Lawrence Harbor section. It's actually on an isolated bayfront lot. To the to the west of it is the county park, and to the east of it is a Green Acres lot. So it is the only lot in this row, and it stands by itself. We do need various variances, and we have the engineer here tonight to provide the testimony. If I may introduce him, we can start. Pat?
Sure. Sir, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this matter before the board?
I do.
And can we have your name, sir?
Sure. Patrick Ward, W-A-R-D, with Insight Engineering.
Pat, would you provide some of your, have you appeared before this board before?
Not before this particular board. So I have a bachelor's in science and civil engineering from Drexel University. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state for over 8 years, licensed professional planner in the state for over 7. Testified before numerous boards throughout Monmouth County and the state of New Jersey. First time before this board. Both licenses are current and valid.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. We'll accept your credentials and your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, would you describe for the board what is being applied for?
Yeah, and I think for the overhead, I think we did a color rendering with an aerial. I think it just gives the board the best sense of our surroundings, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up. So just to clue the board into where we are, we're at 15 Bayshore Avenue. It's in the Lawrence Harbor section. We are in a flood zone, AE 13. That's the base flood elevation. The applicant's seeking to build what is a 3-story single-family dwelling by ordinance definition, but it's 2 living floors elevated above a garage and storage area on the ground level. So this lot today is undeveloped. We're just north of Route 35, and as Bob stated, to the west and to the north is the waterfront park, and then to the east, that lot is Green Acres, which means basically our surroundings are restricted from any other residential development. As you can see, the lot itself is an unusual shape. The R5 zone requires 5,000 square feet lots that are 50 feet wide. So in a sense, the zone contemplates 50 by 100-foot lots, generally. Our lot is just under 5,000 square feet, 4,666, and our width is 60 feet. Unique aspect of this lot is what you can see at the northeast or northwest corner is that little finger that sticks out towards the bay. And that area is basically outside of any developable footprint. So what we're left with is a 60-foot wide lot, and then really the mass of the lot is 70 feet deep. So with that, it presents, with the setbacks of the R5 zone, presents a somewhat abnormal building footprint to design within. So the home itself, as you can see, you see the footprint. Again, it's a unique shape, but again, that's kind of trying to fit within the footprint that we can. There's 2 living floors above an elevated ground floor. The physical building height complies with the ordinance. It's 29.44 feet, where 35 is the requirement. It is 3 stories by zoning ordinance, so that's a variance. We have a few other variances regarding the bulks. The side yard setback on the east side is 6 feet, where 9 feet is required. We provide over 9 feet on the west side. The total side yard combined is 15.87, which exceeds the 15 feet requirement. The deck side setback, that's on the west, is 9.87 feet, where 21.68 feet is required. The deck rear setback is 21.12 feet, where 21.68 feet is required. That's a variance. There's a front overhang for the covered entrance at the front door. That setback is 16.06 feet, and that's a front yard setback where 20 feet is required. That's a variance. And on the east side, because of the elevation of the home, and the home is above elevation 16, so it's about 3 feet above the base flood, the utility platform setback that's required by the electric company is 1.72 feet, where 9 feet is required. So the goal of the applicant was to best fit a home on the lot while still honoring the setbacks as best as possible, including the combined side yard. And we tried to fit the mass of the building, which is really to the exterior walls, within the building envelope as best we could. So I opened up with the unique nature of the property. We feel that these variances can be justified under the C1 hardship criteria. We think the unique and irregular nature of the lots drive the design of the home to be wider, as you could see, than normal, and shallower, front to back, than normal. We can also analyze this under the flexible C2 criteria by walking through the purposes of planning that are furthered. 1, this is an appropriate use and development. We have a single-family home in a single-family zoning district, elevated to meet the flood hazard construction standards. The application secures safety from fire, flood, panic, and other natural man-made disasters. We have new construction here to the latest building codes, and the construction is compliant with construction in a flood hazard area. The application provides adequate light, air, and open space. And here it's, again, another unique aspect. This is a function of our surroundings. As I stated in the beginning, we're surrounded by the park and the tax lot to the east, that's Green Acres. No development is anticipated to surround us at all, which will maintain the open space. The application promotes a desirable visual environment. Considering the unique nature of the property, the home is appropriate for coastal development and will be a nice addition aesthetically to the neighborhood. And we feel the application and this dwelling conserves property values in the neighborhood. New construction will maintain or enhance surrounding property values. When looking at the negative criteria, we have to consider impacts to the public or any other neighboring properties. In this case, there really is no impact to our neighbors. To the east is a Green Acres lot, which will be restricted from any development. To the north, we have well over 200 feet to the water, and that's the park area. There's the bike path or walking path to our north. And to the west is the mass of the park where the parking lot is and the restrooms and the like. So in our opinion, we see no impacts because the surrounding properties are really not anticipated to ever be developed. So there will be no impacts from our C bulk variance relief that's requested. So in my opinion, the development would not cause substantial detriment to the public good nor substantially impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan. And on balance, I feel that the board can approve this application with confidence.
Thank you. That's our presentation.
Mr. Wan.
I don't have any questions for the engineer. I just want to make a comment just to remind the board that this is the area that was impacted by Superstorm Sandy, and you have seen similar applications before. Some of the properties were bought over by Blue Acres, and some of them remain undeveloped. You have seen a few of these vacant lots being developed with similar scaled single-family homes. The architecture and design is identical, with the first floor dedicated for storage, and then the living space, the habitable space on the second and the third floor. So although there is a variance required for the number of stories, it's only because of the location. So I did look at the other newer homes that were built in the area, and the proposed home is consistent with what you see with the newly constructed homes. I just want to go over the variances that are sought so that the board can vote on them. The first one is the minimum lot area, 5,000 required. The existing and proposed is 4,666. So it's an existing non-conformity. The second one is minimum front yard setback, 20 required, 16.06 proposed, including the overhang. The next one is the side yard setback, 9 feet required, 6 feet proposed. The next one is the number of stories, 2.5 permitted, and this is 3-story. The next is the rear yard setback, where 21.68 is required and 21.12 is proposed. A very de minimis variance required on this one. Rear yard, okay, I covered that. And the last one is the utility platform, which is an accessory structure within the side yard where 9 feet is required and 1.72 feet is proposed.
The last one was what, Ms.?
It is an accessory structure within the side yard setback, so it's a side yard setback variance for accessory structures. And 9 feet is required because the platform is at 3 feet. I think the ordinance requires 7 feet when it's 2 feet above the ground. And then for every additional 1 feet, you have to add 2 more feet. So that's where the 9 feet comes from.
So I have a total of 6, correct?
7 plus 2, 9. 9 feet. Oh,
Variance.
No, variances. That's
I thought it was 7. Let me-
minimum lot, minimum front yard, side yard, stories, rear yard setback, and accessory.
6.
Okay.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I may, in Vina, those 6 variances that you just highlighted, the application is, in granting the variances, is consistent with other properties that have received
That is
variances
correct.
in the area.
That is correct. I would just suggest one thing, like should the board act favorably on the application, I would want to see revised plans because the bulk table and the variances cited are not accurate. So I just want an updated plan set before you file for permits.
We'll be happy to do that.
In fact, 2 of them are, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner of the picture, those were 2 of the new builds on Bay Shore. I'll go to questions to the board. I'll start on my left. Mr. Psychowski? No questions. Mr. Scogno? Ms. Chevalier?
No questions.
Mr. Stoner? Mr. Connor?
No questions.
Okay. I have none either. I think you succinctly spoke to all the issues. Again, we've had in recent, I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, with those other homes right on that road that they built, and they're similar structure and nature, built high because of the floodplain. Mr. Dasty?
That's the only question I have, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything further.
Okay. You going to have any other testimony? I'll go to the public.
Covers it.
All right, we'll open the public on this matter. This is 35-2022Z, located 15 Bay Shore Avenue. This is built to build single-family homes requiring C variances. Anyone want to be heard on this matter, please raise your hand or stand and come forward. No one has. I'll close the public portion. Final comments, Mr. McGowan? Board, you've heard the testimony. This would require the 6 Z variances as cited, minimum lot area, minimum front yard setback, side yard setback, 3 stories were 2.5 permitted because of the build. 5 is the rear yard setback and 6 is accessory structure. Someone interested in moving the C variances? I will. Is there a second?
Connor, I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. McGowan. Best of luck on the build.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you for your appearance, sir. Okay, you're not getting up, right? There you go. Next application is 14-2022Z, Town Center Associates, Inc. This is in the TCD zone. This is block 14263, lot 4.11, location at 3899 Highway 516 East. This is for a daycare facility, a major preliminary and final site plan with D variance. Robert McGowan, representing the applicant, sir.
Good evening, members of the board. I am here on this application as well. Basically, I would encourage you all to refer to the zoning and planning review letter that's dated June 2nd, 2022. It points out that the application is to essentially replace, to fill in the void or the vacancy that was created when Walgreens left. We are not proposing any changes to the exterior dimensions of the building. The proposed use would be for the Lightbridge Day Child Care Academy. And as Vina points out, this is the master plan does not specifically include the recommendation. It does, however, say that there are the use variance we therefore need a use variance because it's not permitted under your ordinance. However, the state statute overrides the municipal ordinances, and this is a statutorily permitted use in any non-residential area. In addition to that, there's a state statute which recognizes it as being an inherently beneficial use. So it is a statutorily permitted use that is inherently beneficial. And as Vina then goes on to point out, there are no bulk variances required for this application. So we are, for technical reasons, seeking a use variance because it's not permitted under your ordinance. But I do ask you to consider the fact that the state statute prevails, and that not only that, but the state legislature has specifically recognized child care centers as being an inherently beneficial use. With that said, I'd like David Erickson to address some comments that have come up in the intervening time.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm to testify truth in this matter before the board?
I do.
And can we have your name, sir, please?
David Erickson,
Spelling on that, sir?
E-A-R-E-C-K-S-O-N.
Thank you.
Mr. Erickson, you're a professional engineer, a professional planner?
Not planner, professional engineer. We have another planner who will be testifying.
Can you just put your credentials on the record, please, sir?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from NJIT. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I've been a licensed professional engineer for over 20 years. I've appeared before the planning board in Old Bridge and numerous other towns throughout the state.
We'll accept your credentials, sir.
Thank you. May I have sheet 2 up on the screen, please? So there are very limited site improvements being proposed. The parking lots are going to be resurfaced and restriped, but the configurations are not going to change. We are adding an outdoor play area where the drive-through for the Walgreens was. So that will no longer be used as a drive-through. It will have a constructed play area with a fence around it. We are taking up some of the drive aisle for a landscaped area, and then we're proposing a loading zone in front of the landscaped area on the remaining part of the drive aisle. There are 2 dumpsters, existing dumpsters, at this building. They are both going to remain in use. That's really all the site improvements. We can go over the comments.
Sure.
Okay. Landscaping, lighting, as the plan shows, we were proposing a grass area with 2 trees. We felt that the children could use that as a kind of a play area. There has been a request to add more landscaping, which we are willing to do, and we'll modify the site plan to add more landscaping in that area. There's a question about lighting. We are not proposing to remove any lights, so the parking lot, which is adequately lit today, will continue to be adequately lit. And then the sconce on the front of the building is really just decorative. It's not needed for additional lighting. There's site identification sign on the northeast corner. The size and shape are not being modified. We're just going to put the Lightbridge Academy logo on it. So there won't be any issues changing. No variance is required for any of that. Engineering comments. The first one talks about a crosswalk that is being impacted by the play area. If you're looking at the screen on the right-hand side, you can see a shaded area leading across the entrance drive. That is the existing crosswalk. We agree to put a sidewalk next to the play area and stripe a new crosswalk in that area for people to use. There's some comments about trench drains and drainage. We're not proposing to remove the pavement underneath the play area, and the play area is a permeable material with gravel under it. So the water will hit the surface and go down to the pavement beneath and flow directly to the catch basin that exists in the drive aisle. So there's really no change to any drainage patterns or runoff amounts. We put slots in the outer structure of the play area to allow any water from the parking lot to also run into that gravel and down to the existing catch basin. There are some minor details on the architectural plans, trench drains attached to piping. We will revise them to more clearly show exactly what we're proposing to do. I talked about the trash enclosures. They will remain and will continue to be used. The next comment is about the parking area. We agreed to resurface the entire parking area around Lightbridge Academy, and we have agreed to restripe the entire center with new striping. The proposed loading zone will be dimensioned. We will do that. The next comment is again about the striping. We will restripe the entire center. Next comment is spot elevations. We had requested a waiver from providing a survey. The plan you're looking at is actually the design plan from the initial application. So we have a note on the plan saying that the new curbing will be 6 inches tall rather than setting spot grades, and I spoke with the engineer today. He said that that was acceptable.
Let me just go back for one moment on restriping the entire center. You mean the entire area around our building?
No, the entire site.
Center? Okay.
Entire site.
Very good.
It was a request made because the striping has faded and the applicant agreed.
Okay.
The next comment is about stability calculations, and since we're proposing a segmental block wall, these calculations are done by the firm that sells the wall to our client. So they will be done and provided to the building department at the time of building permit application, and the engineering department will be copied on those same calculations. That was, again, acceptable to the engineer. The existing guide rail, part of it is being removed. Where it conflicts with the new play area, we are going to remove that. The rest of it needs to remain to protect against a fall hazard from the existing topography on the site. So part of it will remain, only part of it will be removed, and I'll add a note to the plan to clarify that.
The site is slightly elevated as opposed to the adjoining area. Is that correct?
The drive aisle is higher than the access aisle through the site, yes. That's why on that end, on that side of the play area, we have to use a retaining wall because the site drops off and the play area is flat. The next comment is about variable depth stone bedding, and it's the same issue where against the building, it's about 6 inches thick, and then as you move away from the building and the drive aisle drops off, it gets to about 1.5 feet thick. So to clarify this better, I'm going to put a cross-section on the site plan to show this how this is being done so that it's clear to everybody. The next comment about architectural details. These are standard details that the architect and I will coordinate and make sure that everything is exactly the same on my site plans and his architectural plans. Detail for painted stop bar will be included. And then the next comment is a standard comment. Since this is a private site, we only need inspection fees, not performance bond or maintenance guarantees. So the bonding will be calculated, and then the fees will be based off the bonding amount, but no bonds need to be posted, just inspection fees. And I believe that's it.
Talk about trash enclosures for a moment. Was there a comment from the fire?
Fire official asked that we either move them or sprinkler them. We will sprinkler them with, it's like an outdoor hose bib, so that the water is well inside and won't freeze. And then the sprinkler heads stick out from the wall, and if there is ever a fire, the valve inside would open up and allow water to flow. Now, the existing trash enclosures are masonry. That wall of the building is also masonry, And these have existed for a long time and never caught fire, so I have no real concerns about that.
Questions of the engineer?
Vina?
So, board members, I'm actually covering for the entire Community Development Department today. And I have gone through each and every comment. I did have a call with Mr. Erickson and the engineering staff this afternoon to go over each and every comment. Mr. Erickson, can you elaborate a little bit on the comment B and C related to trench drains, only to have it on records? Because generally, all the comments made are acceptable to the engineering planning office. We will obviously work with Mr. Erickson throughout the compliance plans review stage, but I just want you to put it on record.
So the trench drains shown on the architectural details have pipes leading from them and tying into some system that isn't specified on the details. We are going to change that detail so that it is a slotted trench drain, so that when the water comes into the trench drain, is collected, it goes directly into the gravel bed below, and again hits the pavement and goes right over to that catch basin that exists there today. So it's a minor change in the architectural details.
That's correct, and it's acceptable to the office. I believe you've gone through each and every comment. Again, any fine-tuning will be done at the compliance review stage, but the board, I just want to remind the board, it's a fully developed site. It's just a change in use. I believe when the town center district zone was written, the vision for the area was to have a continuous streetscape, and that could be the only reason why childcare facilities were not permitted, but probably it was an oversight because the state statute was written much before the town center district ordinance was written. But I think I understand the concept behind prohibiting it, but obviously over last 20 years things have changed. If you go to more urban areas, you see childcare centers where there is a continuous streetscape, but you'll have childcare facilities on the ground floor. So this is not something unusual. The building is currently vacant. I think it's a great use for the site. So I don't have any questions with the use per se. With planning and engineering office, we have collaborated, and I think we are okay with all the comments. The signs, I would say, please submit it to me, to submit the details to me during compliance stage so that I can review them and make sure they're consistent with the current signage ordinance. I know our ordinance is purely written, it's poorly written. And I have had a lot of issues, and at times we have to seek for variances when they really don't make sense. But the planning office has been really busy, and it's something we have been working for last 2 years, but the attorneys can speak for this. Sign ordinances are not that easy to finalize. There's a lot of things involved in it, so it's a work in progress, and hopefully we'll wrap it up sometime this year. But I just want to review the signage before it goes through compliance. There was a comment that you should consider adding bollards around the fence area for added safety of the children, since there is the driveway is right next to the play area. So I believe you agree with that comment as well, and you will add, right?
And that's on the right side of the play area adjacent to the driveway to access the parking stalls. We will add bollards there.
And the one last thing, our conservation officer and the fire chief has issued a memo. So during compliance stage, you will address any comments made in their review letters, correct? That's it.
The fire marshal indicated that he thought the building would have to be sprinkled.
Yes.
It is.
It is already.
The entire building
Okay,
will be
did he miss that?
I'm not
That's
sure that
not
he's...
currently sprinkled, but it will be sprinkled.
Will be,
Will
okay,
be,
thank
yes,
you.
will be.
Questions, I'll start on my left. Mr. Psychowski? Mr. Scogno? Ms. Chevalier?
Yeah, I was just curious about the traffic study that was done. Is there anybody here tonight to talk about that?
I can.
Yeah, I was curious. There was a study that said in 2024, it's going to be downgraded from a B to a C, that intersection right there?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just curious because I know it's a county road, Route 516. I travel that way home every day to get to my home. I can tell you right in front of the police station, I can count 2 cars each time that blow the red light for the green arrow to turn left on 516. Are you planning to contact the county and see if they can change the timing on that light?
We certainly can.
Please? Someone's going to get T-boned.
We certainly. Yes, we'll reach out to the county.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
Mr. Stoner?
Nothing.
Mr. Connor? None. Ms. Testaverde?
Nothing.
I just had one question about the drop-offs. When you have drop-offs there in the morning, and is this going to be a park situation? Park, bring the child in?
Yes.
You're not going to have a line, like a kiss and drop kind of situation?
So all of the stalls directly in front, all of the stalls directly in front of Light Bridge, where you see the 2 handicap stalls on the screen, they're going to be signed as drop-off only. All of the rest of the stalls will be available for additional parking. Even though state statute says you can't impose a parking or a parking count on, we exceed the requirements of a daycare facility. So I don't professionally feel that there will be an issue with parking and drop-off on this site.
Okay, thank you. You have another witness?
I might just add a comment on that because we came up on dinner. Because of COVID and because of things that have happened, whereas parents used to come in and meet the teacher and drop, that's not allowed anymore. Now, for health reasons and safety reasons, the parents can only come into the front lobby, hand the child off and leave. So it's a very quicker process than we might like or than was, but it is what it is now.
All right, thank you.
We do have the planner to provide.
Chairman, if you,
Ms. What?
if I may just add, since I don't want to steal Justin's thunder on this. But I just want to say, since we're talking about parking here, I think this use is quite apt for this location, especially because people who visit Ponte Vecchio and this town center area, right, usually peak times, and what I mean by peak times is lunch, dinner, it's very hard to find parking, especially dinner. Now you have a use that is closed by 6 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock at the latest. So when the peak evening dinner time comes in, the parking lot is really not being used, and it's open for other users to, or other patrons of the shopping center to park. So I think it will alleviate most of the parking concerns that are there on the town center property. And I think that's something important to note.
Is it for all common use, regardless of whoever you're dining with or shopping at?
Yes, there is
Anywhere
a shared
in there?
Yes, there will be shared parking between users, correct?
I think the only designated spots are a couple of 15-minute spots for Dunkin' Donuts, correct?
That's correct.
That's it, I think.
Justin Osceola, AUCIELLO.
Mr. Osceola, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to, you can sit down, sir. Do
I'll be respectful.
No, stand up again. I'm just kidding. Do you swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this matter before the board?
Yes, I do.
And spell your name again for me, sir, just so I have it correct.
It's Osceola, AUCIELLO.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're a professional planner?
Yes, I am. Licensed in New Jersey since 2008. I've appeared in front of your board on a few occasions in recent years as well.
I recognize you when you stood up. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
We'll accept your
I
credentials.
think you've only seen me on Zoom, though, so I'm not sure, Mr. Sullivan.
Go ahead, sir.
Chairman's way of saying not many people stand up.
Okay. So you heard from Mr. McGowan, you heard from our engineer, and of course you just heard from Vina about this use. As Mr. McGowan had stated in his opening, under state law, this is a use that's permitted in non-residential districts in municipalities in the state of New Jersey. I think Vina had just explained that when the zoning ordinance was enacted for this zone, that potentially was a oversight by not permitting this in the zone district. So inherently beneficial use. That concept is defined by state law as well. which it defines uses that are of such value that they fundamentally serve the public good and promote the general welfare. I think importantly for the record, a child care center is one of the uses that's actually listed in the state statute. And why is that important? Well, it's important because it's not just my opinion that it's this type of use that fundamentally serves the public good, and it's not Vina's opinion, it's state law. So I just think it's important for the purposes of the record to state that. There's a seminal case called Sika at the Supreme Court in 1992, which identified a four-part balancing test for this type of use to evaluate the compliance with negative criteria for inherently beneficial uses. Now, presumptively, given that it is this type of use at the highest value to the community, it satisfies the positive criteria. And the positive criteria, of course, is a showing if the use does advance one of the purposes of zoning. So that's already satisfied. Relative to the negative criteria, the Sika case, as I had said, has a four-pronged test. First, you look at the public interest at stake. Public interest at stake, obviously, is having childcare for children, for parents that work, and obviously, given that this is a use that's fundamentally considered to serve the public good, I certainly think that's a clear public interest at stake with this use. The second is whether there will be any negative effects that would ensue from the grant of this variance. You just heard from our engineer who talked about the improvements to this site. I think the aesthetics are being improved with landscaping. I think the functionality is being improved with the sidewalk next to the play area, the crosswalk, the permeable pavement in the play area, bollards, restriping of the entire center, loading zone, etc. So I think when we look to see what are the detrimental effects, I don't see really any. Certainly the character of the built nature of the site, and certainly if there are any perceived negative impacts, they're not to the level that will be substantial impact to the community. The next prong is whether any negative impacts can be diminished by some reasonable conditions. I think our engineer had just testified to the fact that in speaking with Vina and her department earlier today, there are some things that had been stated on the record this evening that will improve the site. So I think any impacts or any effects are being mitigated. And lastly, it's a showing that the board should weigh the positive and negative criteria and determine whether the grant of the variance would cause a substantial detriment to the public good. I think, as I had said earlier, the positive criteria is met. The negative criteria, in my opinion, is met as well. And I think on balance, the benefits are certainly substantial. And lastly, I think that's it for my testimony. Thank you.
Ms. Swan.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Dasty?
Mr. Chairman, just to kind of expand upon what the applicants' professionals have testified to, just so the board's aware, I know we have some new board members, although the applicant's here for a use variance and that requires 5 affirmative votes, because it is a inherently beneficial use, which is defined by the municipal land use law and also case law, because the state has found that this is such a good use for communities in the state of New Jersey, it presumptively meets the positive criteria requirement under the municipal land use law. So they're really here just to meet the 4 prongs that Mr. Suliello indicated with regard to the negative criteria to make sure that there's no detrimental effect to the neighborhood in the area. And I think as the applicants certainly put testimony on to that effect. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dasty. We'll see if anybody has any questions. Mr. Psychowski?
No.
Mr. Scogno?
No.
Ms. Chevalier?
No.
Mr. Stoner?
No.
Mr. Connor? Ms. Testaverde?
No.
That's it for you, right?
That's our presentation to the board.
I think that Mr. Osceola was succinct and on point with all of his testimony. Clearly, this is a great repurpose of that particular site, which is sitting vacant, and there's probably nothing more harmful to a town than to have vacant properties. So we're not doing anything with the building itself, probably putting a little bit of polish on the front and a new name, and repurpose that and use that site accordingly, obviously to a much-needed use. I know the one down the block that I was referring to, and probably pre-COVID, you couldn't get all the cars in there in the morning. And you know where I'm talking about, further down 516. And this being off the street, which is great, and certainly not only childcare, but adult daycare has become more and more needed, and more applications that we see. And there's certainly that void. So I'm glad to see that that's something good coming to the community that will serve its purpose. If you have nothing further, I'm going to go to the public portion on this, sir. This is matter 14-2022Z. This is Town Center Associates Inc. for major preliminary and final site plan with D variance. This is a daycare facility known as Lightbridge Academy, 3899 Highway 516 East. That's at the corner of Cottrell and 516, formerly, I believe, a Walgreens, was it not? Anybody have any questions, comments, or want to make any statements on this matter, please raise your hand or stand and come forward. I see none. I'm going to close the public portion. Mr. McGowan, final comments?
I would just point out to the board that both the owners of the site and the applicants or the intended users from Lightbridge are attending here tonight because of their interest in seeing this go forward. Thank you.
Board members, any final problems or comments or wishes? None? I do believe that you did meet all the prongs on the Sika test, and I think you put on a good presentation. Would somebody be, this is for a D1 use variance because, I'm sorry, you're saying no?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You are right. You're 100%.
I thought I was listening to this one. Right? That was the last one you had was a C. Okay, this is a D, Mr. McGowan. It's a D1 use variance because of the fact that while they are by state law an inherently beneficial use and exempt, but we still have to pass a use variance. Would somebody be interested in moving a D1 use variance for this application?
Connor, I'll move it.
Is there a second?
I'll second Stoner.
Mr. Stoner has second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. That would do it, Mr. McGowan.
Thank you I'll leave it this point.
That's enough for tonight, sir? Thank you and your witnesses, your professionals, I should say, for their testimony. Good night, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I think.
We're going to go a quick 5-minute recess for the stenographer. Please make it 5 minutes. My mic wasn't on. Could we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Sullivan,
Here.
Mr. Connor,
Here.
Mr. Stoner,
Yeah.
Ms. Chevalier,
Here.
Mr. Scogno,
Here.
Ms. Testaverde,
Here.
Mr. Psychowski,
Here.
Mr. Dasty,
Here.
Ms. Sawant,
Here.
Mr. McCarthy,
Here.
and myself, Ms. C. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here too. I know I was first up.
Okay.
Well, the last matter of the evening is 32-2022Z Aldercrest Development Corp. It's in the OG2 zone. The location is Block 9000, Lot 22, 41.11. For a major preliminary and final site plan with the variance for a maintenance shed and garage. Mark Policastro representing the applicant. Sir.
Good evening. For the record, Mark Policastro. How are you, Mr. Chairman?
Very good, sir. Yourself.
This is a, very well, thanks, a technical variance, we believe, for a use variance and site plan approval. We have all of our witnesses, and we'd like to get right to it, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Please state your name for the record.
First name is Tungto, Tungto. Last name is Lam, Lam.
Can you stand and be sworn?
You don't have to swear. You can just swear You can just swear. You can just raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear or affirm to testify truth in this matter before the board?
Yes, sir.
And give us your name one last time, just so it's clear in the record.
First name is Tungto, Tungto. Last name is Lam, Lam.
Thank you, sir. You're a professional planner?
Professional engineer.
Thank you, sir.
And what is your role? You can sit down. What is your role in this project?
I'm the engineer for this project.
Just give us a quick rundown of your credentials, sir, for the record.
2004 graduate of Rochester Institute of Technology with a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering Tech. Currently a PhD candidate at Rutgers, licensed professional in the state of New Jersey and surrounding states.
Thank you. We'll accept your credentials.
Great. And your role in this project, please?
I'm the engineer for it. We prepared the site plan that's before you.
Great. Please describe the project briefly.
It's a simple application. It's a 60 by 60 shed building garage. It's being located on the Glenwood apartment property. It happens to be two separate lots, so this is why we're here as a use variance. If not, then we wouldn't really be here. It's just a simple application.
It would be accessory use, is that true?
Yes. Total is less than a quarter acre of impervious, so less than an acre of disturbance. Stormwater-wise, it's not even considered as a major application. We're proposing a gravel parking lot, simply just for the low use. We didn't feel the need to pave something just to create additional impervious coverage that's not needed. Stormwater-wise, everything would go back to its own original area, whichever way it was sheet flown today. It will continue. In terms of operation, delivery schedule and things of that nature, we're expecting at most 2 FedEx delivery per month, and anything else would be just van deliveries to the facility. A maximum of 3 employees at any given shift, and our operation is 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., Monday through Friday only. In terms of type of equipment or material being stored in this building, the 60 by 60 building, will be like seeds, fertilizer, John Deere mowers, tractors, some small hand tool, operation equipments, tools, a golf cart, 2 pickup trucks, and a large spreader. Generally, we're agreeing to the review letter from Rakesh and Vina, that's dated July 26, 2022. In terms of variance number 2, it will be eliminated by adding additional landscaping to it. We currently do comply with the 50-foot buffer requirement, but we lack the planting, so we'll add additional planting to it. And the rest of the letter will work out with the board professionals, but we're in agreement to those.
Thank you.
That's his testimony. Ms. Swan.
So, board members, just to go into much more detail with the use per se, the applicant is in front of the zoning board only because the accessory use is on a separate lot. So, had this had this use being proposed on the same lot as the Glenwood Apartments, then you wouldn't have even seen the application. Probably this would have been reviewed administratively because it does not trigger any stormwater review or any other variances involved. So it's just a technicality that when Glenwood Apartments was built, this separate lot was created, and I've gone through the deed to just make sure that there were no restrictions on this lot. And it was created basically to provide access and connect Glenwood Driveway to Fairway Lane. But then when I go back and review the accessory use definition, it specifically says it has to be on the same lot. I did go and go through case law. There is case law that says that if the accessory use is on a separate lot, it has to be treated as a principal use, and you're required to apply for a D1. But again, the use is strictly meant to serve the Glenwood Apartments, so maintenance vehicles will be will be stored in the garage. So it's purely an accessory use. There will be no traffic that will be going from this location into anywhere else within the township. It's only meant for Glenwood Apartments. I just wanted to clarify that. T, if you don't mind, can we just quickly go over each comment and we just mark it up so that the board knows that you have agreed? Because there was one comment which was made by the engineering and ERI and myself, was the grilling area. If you notice where the garage is proposed, there are currently 3 to 4 grills, and it's an area which people use. My request to them was slide the driveway to the north slightly, so that, because right now the way it's proposed, there's 1 grill to the north of the driveway and 2 grills to the south of the driveway. Instead, what I was recommending is move the driveway up to the north, relocate that 1 grill that is located on the north side, bring it to the south side, create a nicer area for the residents to sit down and enjoy the grills. So since that area is within the buffer, landscape it, beautify it, and make it more usable and attractive. And I think the applicant agrees with that. So we just want to go over the other items that were, the comments that were made, so that we make sure the board understands that you will comply.
Yes, agree. So we start on page 3. Variance number 1, our planner will provide testimony about the D1 variance. Variance number 2, the buffer, that's no longer required. We will add additional landscaping that's required to eliminate that variance. Waiver number 3, the gravel parking lot, we wish to continue.
I'm sorry, I would just want to interject. You will still need the variance because you will have the grills and the rec kind of area within the buffer. So I would suggest ask for the variance, but beef it up with landscaping.
Okay, agree. Understood. Waiver number 3, we wish to maintain the proposed gravel parking lot, just minimize the stormwater impact. Waiver number 4 will provide the additional trees, but for now, just to be safe, we'll ask for the waiver anyway, but we will add the additional trees.
So you would work with the conservation officer to come up with a plan. That is acceptable.
General comment number 1, we'll defer that to our planner. Comment number 2, architectural plans. We have those as 11 by 17s. They are uploaded to the township portal. It's a simple structure, 60 by 60, 2 garage doors that are 10 feet wide each, and then there's a small man door. So we could pull them up now, or we could just submit them as a conditional approval. So
I want to show the board.
sure. So we'll go old school on this one. Yeah. What I'm passing out right now is the architectural plan.
Well, Mr. Lamb, once you get back to your microphone, if you're going to hand out exhibits, you can mark these up and tell us what they are, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what I've just passed out is the architectural plans for this project. It is a package of 6 sheets. The last revised date is May 10th, 2022.
And that'll be A1, Mr. Lamb?
Yes. So the first sheet, the upper corner, is basically a 3D view of what this building will look like. A very simple structure, 60 by 60 structure with a pitched roof. The color is shown to be green right now, but we could work with your board professional if another color is more desirable. But very simple structure. The rest of this package simply has the floor plans, the exterior elevation, a couple construction details and things of that nature. We could flip through page by page if there's comments, but otherwise it's really just a blank building. It's just 60 by 60. We have a bathroom inside with an office inside. Once again, 2 overhead doors, 10 feet wide each, and then a small traditional man door.
Let's just see if the board members have any questions about it while we're reviewing it. No? Good? Good. Go ahead, sir.
Then moving on to general comment number 3, the front yard, we do comply, no comments on that. Comment number 4 about the delivery schedule, employees, and our operation testimony was provided. Comment number 5 about the equipment, testimony was also provided. Number 6 about the concrete apron being added for this project, we agreed to that, we'll add that to this project. Comment number 7, there's really no dedicated parking on this, which is why we didn't show the wheel stops, and maximum 3 employee at any given time, so it's just in and out, so these are not true parking spaces. So if the board professional do decide the wheel stop, we'll add them, but otherwise we'd like to keep them off, so. And comment number 8 was about the relocation of the grills and the picnic table to remain. We'll dress that up and make it attractive and add additional buffering, landscaping, and things of that nature. Number 9, the lightings are not being changed along Cottonwood Drive, so they'll remain as is. Number 10, there's no maintenance being inside the building or outside. And number 11, we're agreeable that there will be no outdoor storage, and the gravel area is just for vehicle parking only. Number 12, there is no trash being generated from this. It's just a simple garage. Number 13 is just about the trenching. We would work with staff about the existing concrete ramp. If the condition is not great, we'll replace it. Number 14 is just additional spot shots to be added. We'll do so as part of resolution compliance. Number 15 is about the roof drains. We'll coordinate with the architect on the exact downspout location, and then we'll add a splash guard as recommended by staff. Number 16 is about adding a note about the parking lot maintenance and keeping stone and gravel off of Cottonwood Drive, and we'll add those notes to the compliance plans. Number 17, there's no defined parking, which is why there's no defined ADA stalls along with it. We'll work with your construction official If they feel that is needed to be added, then we'll work with them and add the necessary signage and striping. Number 18 was about the minimum disturbance on this project. We're only disturbing 20,956 square feet and adding 7,500 square feet of motor vehicle. Once again, this does not trigger stormwater review. Number 19, testimony was provided about the stormwater. The watershed's not being changed, no additional runoff and things of that nature. Comment 20, 2-year guarantee for all landscaping, we're agreeable to that. Comment 21, we're working with the Township Conservation Officer about the existing trees, heritage trees, and tree replacement. Comment 22 is about switching out some species, eliminating some species, and just swapping some species and things like that. We would agree to work with staff on addressing a landscape package of their approval. Number 23 is about Willow Oak being added. We will do so along the railway frontage of Cottonwood Drive. And number 24, we work with staff on the appropriate buffer width that's necessary. Construction detail 25, sewer cleaning out to be added. We will do so. Comment 26, the stone detail and the gravel thickness detail, we'll add that to your construction detail. 27, the approval from OBMUA and the freehold will be forthcoming. We'll provide those upon receipt. The Township Fire Marshal, I believe we received a letter saying no comments. And 28 and 29, those are just typical comments.
Ms. Swan?
So, one comment, there's a sheet missing from the exhibits. This sheet 4 is missing.
True.
Or is it mislabeled?
Looks like it's mislabeled because we have a sheet 7 of 6.
6, I saw that. Yep.
We'll fix that on the resubmission.
Sure. The one thought that came to my mind, and it's not in the comments, is we're saying that where you have the grilling space, just add a fence and add some shrubbery, right?
Yes.
I mean, in terms of security and safety, how do we avoid people from going and hanging out once it's evening and there's nobody in the maintenance shed garage area, right? So maybe consider having a gate or something
Yes.
to the area, because I don't want it to happen that it's unattended in the evenings and then it becomes a hangout spot and it becomes like, say, there are safety concerns then. So something for you to consider, actually.
Yes, we'll add a gate. We have a fence around it already.
Exactly. So
we'll
I
just
think
add
it-
a gate to close it off.
I think with the fence, it's very easy to add the gate there. So I would recommend that you add a gate
Yes.
for added safety and security. I believe my comments were addressed. I'll wait for your planner to testify. Landscaping, you will work with our office to finalize the landscaping
Yes, most definitely.
plan. I will also want to review the architectural plans that were submitted now during compliance review stage. But that's pretty much on my end. I'll hand over to the engineer.
I think you addressed all the comments that we had. So I think the main thing was making sure that there's no storage outside. So as long as you guys are willing to do that, as far as all the other comments, I feel that it's acceptable with the way that you described that you'll conform with those issues that we had.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
When we're speaking about grills, are we talking about cooking grills?
Yes, existing part of the Glenwood operation as part of their amenity, there's some grills being along Cottonwood Drive. So there's existing there already. We're just simply relocating them into a more consolidated spot just in order to provide this driveway access into this garage.
So whose grills are these?
They're for the apartment users. It's one of the amenities that they provide.
It's going to be without, outside your gates?
Outside the gates, yes.
Okay.
Outside
The public isn't going to be admitted into this area or the building, correct?
Fair question, no.
And the trash, you're not going to put a container, I'm assuming you're going to dispose of it in the containers that are on the property?
Yes.
Probably over near the maintenance, the office building, it's not the office building, maintenance building on, next to the laundry there?
Correct.
Okay. So you won't have any
We won't
trash
have a
on the
dedicated
property, you'll
one.
get rid of it?
Yes.
I'll go to my left. Mr. Psychowski?
No.
Mr. Scogno? Ms. Chevalier?
I'm good.
Mr. Stoner?
Yeah, I have a question for you. Did you mention something about swapping species?
Yes.
Can you clarify that for me, please?
Yeah, it is the, it was comment 22. It's about the plant selection that we have on the package, what our landscape architect has selected. The township professional has other opinions, and we will work with your township professional to provide the species that they like instead.
We've been asked to make some changes in those species,
Okay.
and we're, of course, willing to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Connor? Ms. Testaverde? Back to you, sir.
Great. Mr. Riley? Please state your name for the record.
Sure. It's Christopher Riley, spelled Riley.
Can you raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear or affirm to testify truth in this matter before the board?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Your credentials, please.
Sure. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from the New Jersey Institute of Technology. I'm professionally licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey. I've been practicing civil engineering for over 5 years and worked on various projects in Middlesex County.
You've testified before boards before, I'm sure?
I have not. This is my first testimony.
Good. We're looking forward to it. Accept your credentials.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
You have some brief testimony. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. Should be very brief.
Please share your view with the board and members of the public.
Great. If we could just get the site plan back up, that'd be great. So I guess just while that's coming up, so as the site engineer testified, the site frontage will be along Cottonwood Lane. Private road, posted speed is 25 miles per hour, 1 lane of traffic in each direction going east and west. There will be 1 full movement driveway, as the site plan shows, that will be 24 feet in width. That is an industry standard for a full movement driveway. That full movement driveway will lead onto the site, which will have a 6,120 square foot parking area, as the site engineer testified. And that will, as he testified to, that would be used for employee parking and maintenance devices. So trip generation for the site is pretty basic. We use the Institute of Traffic Engineering Manual, which is ITE is the acronym. That's pretty much the industry standard for predicting trip generation. Since there's no real land use for just a proposed garage in this instance, the land use code that we use from ITE that best fits this case is the specialty trade contractor, which is land use 180. That's just described as a land use that is a business that primarily serves residential and commercial uses. So that pretty accurately describes what the site is. So with that land use, ITE predicts that the busiest peak hour traffic will generate 7 trips. And then ITE states that any site that produces 100 trips or less is not a significant impact to the roadway network, has no impact on the level of service of the road, which is just the volume to capacity ratio of the road. So therefore, it won't have a significant impact on the roadway network. And as the site engineer testified, that 7 trips seems to be very conservative and kind of an overestimate for what the site will produce. Realistically, it'll be just a few employees entering the site in the morning, exiting the site in the evening. So it's very comparable to a residential use, which is obviously what this is surrounded by. So in conclusion, this will not be a significant impact to the existing roadway network.
Thank you. That's all we have for this witness.
Ms. Swan, anything?
No questions.
McCarthy? None?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Mr. Dasty?
No, sir.
I'll start on my left. Mr. Psychowski, Mr. Scogno? No. Ms. Chevalier?
Questions?
Mr. Stoner?
No questions.
Mr. Connor? None. Ms. Testaverde?
No questions.
Now you can mark that one down. Your credentials, you got through that one. That was pretty easy, right?
Not one question?
I try to be kind, Mr. Policastro. I try to be kind.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're always fair.
Thank you very much.
So our last very quick witness is our planner.
Go right ahead, sir.
Ms. Keller.
Now we're going to be tough.
Hi, everybody, Chairman, members of the board. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to testify truth in this matter before the board?
Yes, I do.
And can we have your name, please?
Sure. My name is Kate Keller. Last name is Keller.
And your credentials?
I am a principal with the firm of Phillips Price Greigel Laney Hughes, based in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey and have been for about 7 years and have been practicing planning in New Jersey for about 12. And I've been qualified as a witness for about 65 boards across the state, including your planning board in town.
There you go. Thank you very much. We accept
Thank
your
you. I
credentials.
appreciate it.
Please proceed.
Sure. So just, we've heard a lot of testimony tonight from both your planner and our site engineer about the nature of this use variance, which that it really is technical. The law doesn't fully make a distinction there, so that's why we're here putting on these proofs and before the zoning board. But really, this is a site where the apartment property is located in the AF apartment family zone, and this property is in the OG office general zone. And so even though this proposed garage is going to serve the apartments and the other surrounding uses that are owned by the property owner, the proposed use as a maintenance shed is not permitted as a principal use in this zone. And as we said, because it is accessory to a use that's off the property, it has to be treated as a principal use. So that's why we're here tonight. Essentially, this is really, it's a minor use that's not going to have a significant impact, as you've heard from our traffic engineer's testimony, but however, we are here for the use variance. So because of that, we have to satisfy both the positive and negative criteria for the D1 variance. Positive, we have to advance special reasons. We have to demonstrate that it's particularly suitable for the proposed use. And the negative criteria, we have to show that there will not be substantial detriment to the public good or no substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. So in this case, we have a use that really is particularly suited for this site because it's serving the surrounding properties that are under similar ownership, and this is really a logical place for this use. It's located so that it's kind of unique in that this corner of the property is really only accessible from the internal roadways of Cottonwood Lane and Glenwood Drive, where it's separated from Route 9 and Fairway Lane because of there's a stream corridor and some other environmental constraints there. So it's not going to be visible from there. All of the traffic will be directed towards, really the internal roadways and the adjacent roadways here. So really, this is here to effectuate, ongoing maintenance of landscaping and woodlands and other things on the adjacent properties. And to that, I would say that it advances several of the purposes of zoning, which is that it encourages municipal action. This is purpose A, to guide appropriate development in land, which promotes health, safety, morals, and general welfare. We're maintaining, existing properties in a way that makes them basically more beneficial to both the residents and the township. Provide adequate light, air, and open space in terms of maintaining the existing open spaces on the properties. And also purpose J, which is to promote conservation of open space and natural resources. We're putting this site is proposed to take up a small amount of land on a site that's really only accessible internally without impacting any of the environmental features in the vicinity. So just also, obviously as a use variance, we have to touch on the negative criteria, which is that granting this variance would not result in substantial detriment to the township and would not impair the intent and purpose of the master plan or zoning ordinance of the township. So, again, with regard to the public good, this is a very low impact use that's proposed here. It will really, it's adjacent to the uses that it's going to serve. It will not be visible from any other properties. It's a low traffic operation, and it's a one-story building that's really in scale with the surrounding area. It conserves the environmentally sensitive portions of the site, and I think, in short, no significant impacts will result from this use here. And then finally, in terms of the zone plan and zoning ordinance, this would not substantially impair the intent and purpose. Again, this is an accessory use that supports adjacent properties, and this is really a unique situation due to the parcel layout, the ownership patterns in the area, the changes in zoning ordinance between the two properties, zoning designation between the two properties. Just, also to touch on the Medici reconciliation, when you have to say, you have to show that there will not be a detriment because this use is not permitted in the zone. Certain types of garages and maintenance buildings are permitted in the OG2 zone. So this isn't really that much far off than other things, sort of like commercial garages, auto and trailer storage are permitted as principal uses. So it's not substantially dissimilar from those uses, except that, again, it will be accessory and it will be much less impactful than those could potentially be. And I would also note that the 2020 master plan reexamination for the township discusses how, the different uses should be reviewed for these OG zones because of the challenges with the office market that was originally supposed to be on these properties. So in general, this is providing a productive use on a vacant parcel that is, not really accessible and not really able to be developed in the manner that it was initially proposed to be, which is for office use. And so it will serve the adjacent properties. And I believe that the D variance can be granted without substantial detriment.
Thank you. Ms. Sawant.
I really don't have any questions for Kate, but I do want to make a correction. The parcel block 9,000 lot 41.11 on which the garage is proposed is actually a split zoned parcel. So the parcel has two zones. What that means is that a portion of the property is within the AF, the apartment family zone, and a portion of it is within the OG2 zone, where the garage is proposed is actually OG2 zone. So I just wanted to clarify that to the board.
Yes, thank you. That is correct. I got the other, the adjacent parcel that's also part of this application is.
That is
but
correct.
Yes, this is entirely in the OG2 zone. Thank you.
That's it.
McCarthy, anything?
No comments.
To your knowledge, and I probably should have asked perhaps Mr. Lamb, this isn't going to be a noise generator in any way other than the coming and going of vehicles, correct?
Not at all.
There's no heavy maintenance inside. It's not structured for that.
No, it's not.
I'll go to my left, Mr. Sykowski, Mr. Scogno, Ms. Chevalier, Mr. Stoner.
No questions.
Mr. Connor?
None.
Ms. Testaverde.
Chairman.
Dasty, did you have?
Mr. Chairman, just briefly, I'd just like to kind of give a little resuscitation in my own tortured way of doing it. But as Ms. Sawant alluded to, and as did the applicant's professionals, if this was a standalone garage that was a principal structure on the property, it would not even be here. It's only here because the primary use is on the adjacent lot. If it was all one lot, it wouldn't be here either. So it is, as use variances go, it's not a heavy lift per se. It's only here for a technical issue, as Vina alluded to, because it's a separate lot. It's an accessory use for the adjoining lot. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you for your clarification.
Yeah, Chairman, I just want to add one thing.
I'm
Should
not
the board,
wrong, am I, Vina?
should the board act should the board act favorably on this application, I would recommend that the applicant comply with the performance standards of the Land Development Ordinance, which is Section 250-43, related to noise, air pollution, sound, and everything.
Counselor?
Yes, agreed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have any questions, anything that anybody wants to ask before we go to a public portion? No? That's your last witness, Mr. Policastro.
Thank you all. Appreciate your
I'll go to a
time.
public portion if it's okay with you.
Perfectly acceptable.
32-2022 it's Aldercrest Development Corp. It's the Glenwood Apartments, and on their land, they would like to put up I believe it's 60 by 60 shed or garage or building, and because it crosses over two lots, they're here tonight. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So this is fairly straightforward. If anybody is here in the audience tonight and would like to comment on this, please come forward or raise your hand. I think they're all people that are with you, sir, so there are no other...
Stranger things have happened. Right?
Well, let's hope not tonight. I'll close the public portion, seeing as there's no interest in this matter. Finally, this is Mr. Dasty. This is a D1, correct?
It is, Mr. Chairman, 5 votes.
And then we have, if that succeeds, we need a waiver for the gravel, correct? For the gravel lot. We need, what did I write?
We need
Waiver
a
for the
waiver
landscape?
trees.
What?
I think it's safe to grant them a waiver, but the applicant has agreed to work with us on the landscaping
To
plan.
comply with the landscaping, right?
Okay, so we won't need a waiver there. We'll just need it for the gravel lot and for the parking stalls?
I would suggest granting a waiver on the landscaping too, however, the applicant has agreed to work with.
Would that be, is that okay with you?
That is okay, Mr. Chairman.
So we'll have waiver for gravel, the gravel lot, the waiver for the landscaping, the waiver for the parking spots, correct?
Correct.
Is that correct, Ms.?
Yes, and the variance on buffer.
On the buffer?
Yes. And then the D1.
Okay, the buffer is a C, correct? Or is that a waiver? Buffer.
Buffer is a variance.
Yeah.
It's a C.
Yeah, that's a C.
Yep.
The others are waivers, okay. So the first would be a D1. Should that be successful, we'll move to the C. Is anybody interested in moving this?
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
I'll second Stoner.
Okay. It's Ms. Chevalier and Mr. Stoner. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. Then we'll go for the C variance for the buffer. I'll move it. Is there a second?
I'll second Stoner.
Mr. Stoner, seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes. And then it'll be 3 waivers. Mr. Dasty, one for the gravel in place of the pavement, the waiver for the landscaping, correct?
Yes,
And
Mr.
the-
Chairman.
And the parking spot.
In the parking spot, Mr. Chairman, you can do that all in one vote, if you so please.
All in one for those 3 waivers. Someone move it, please.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Chevalier, Mr. Stoner, seconds. Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier,
Yes.
Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
The Glenwood Apartments and the Burnettis and Aldercrest Inc. has always been good neighbors to the township. They've always done good business here. My vote is yes, and I'm sure that you will take into consideration the tenants that are there while you're doing this construction.
Of course we will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank your professionals.
Thank you, and thank to your professionals as well. Always excellent.
Good evening, sir.
Thanks.
Board members, that brings us to a close this evening on our applications. We have general public comments, but we don't have anybody in the public, but I'll go once around. If Mr. Sykowski will go around for general public comments. Anything, sir?
Nothing, thank you.
Nice to see you back. I haven't seen you in a while. Good to be seen, right? Mr. Scogno, anything, sir? Ms. Chevalier at this point?
No.
Okay, Mr. Stoner? No. Mr. Connor?
I'm good.
Okay, and Ms. Testaverde?
None.
Thank you, everybody. This was a special meeting this evening. I appreciate everyone coming. Sometimes these things just happen when we have to do this. And we kept you a little long because there was also a 15-minute delay for the court. But nonetheless, we worked together, I think, very well this evening. So, any final comments from the township?
None.
Okay, thank you all. We're going to meet on August 18th, I believe, is our next.
That is correct.
It's our next
And-
meeting, correct?
And I will be sending out an email because, as I said last time, we will need another additional meeting for the fire company. There are 2 applications that are scheduled. I will send out some dates, and I'll try to avoid Wednesday so that we don't have to wait for the
That would
court.
be good. And be mindful that we are canceling September 1st.
That
So
is
the
correct.
September meeting is going to be on the 15th.
Yes.
Okay, everybody has that? Very good. Mr. Dasty, thank you for your counsel, as always.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absent no comments, I'll accept a motion for an adjournment.
Motion.
Is there a second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Stoner,
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier, Mr. Scogno,
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde,
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan.
Yes, everybody enjoy the rest of the summer until August 18th. Good night, everybody. Safe home.